We good to go, Susie? Good morning. I'm Lisa Jones, Chair of the Board of Directors for Housing Development Partners, or HDP, and HDP Mason. It is 9:09 on June 13th, 2024, and I'm calling to order the regular meeting of the HDP Board and the special meeting of the HDP Mason Board. We're meeting in person this morning with board members, staff, and members of the public in attendance. We have a quorum with 4 board members present. Video of today's meeting is also being streamed live online. The link to watch today's meeting is on HDP's website at www.hdpartners.org. Members of the public who wish to provide comments to both the HDP and HDP Mason Board will need to complete a speaker slip here in the boardroom and submit it to our Vice President of Communications, Scott Marshall, who is standing at the side of the boardroom. In a moment, I will propose placing items 100 and 101 from the HDP Board agenda and items 100 and 101 from the HDP Mason Board agenda on a consent agenda today. Members of the public may provide comments about the items on the consent agenda by submitting a speaker request form for that item before the board considers the consent agenda. To speak in favor of any item on today's agenda, please submit the gold-colored form. To speak in opposition to any agenda item, please submit the pink-colored form. Those who wish to address the board about a topic that is not on the agenda should fill out a white speaker request form. Members of the public will have 3 minutes each to provide their comments about agenda items or non-agenda public comments. However, if a large number of people, doesn't seem to be the case, wish to provide non-agenda public comments or speak on a single agenda item, comments will be limited to 1 minute each. Collective testimony by those who support or oppose an item shall be limited to no more than 15 minutes total per side. When I call your name, please step to the podium, state your name for the record, and begin making your comments. We will now move on to non-agenda public comments for both the HDP and HDP Mason boards. We have no speaker slips have been submitted, so this concludes non-agenda public comments. Next, I will ask if any board members would like to make any comments. Hearing none, next is the approval of the minutes from the December 21st, 2023 special meetings of both the HDP and HDP Mason boards. No speaker slips have been submitted regarding the minutes. First, we will consider the HDP board meeting minutes. Do any board members have any changes to the minutes, or do we have a motion?
So moved. Second.
All right. We have a motion by Ryan Klumpner and a second by Mitch Mitchell to approve the minutes from the December 21st, 2023 HDP board meetings. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. The motion carries unanimously. We will now adjourn as the HDP board and convene as the HDP Mason board to vote on the HDP Mason board meeting minutes from the December 21st, 2023 meeting. May we use the same motion and second for the HDP Mason board meeting minutes? We have a motion by Ryan Klumpner and a second by Mitch Mitchell to approve the minutes from the HDP Mason board meeting of December 21st, 2023. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
The motion carries unanimously. We will now adjourn as the HDP Mason board and reconvene as the HDP board. This morning, I am proposing the following items be placed on the consent agenda. Item 100 on both the HDP and HDP Mason agendas, which is the approval of the appointment of Councilmember Stephen Whitburn to both boards. Unfortunately, he was not able to be with us today, but we did brief him on the board meeting agenda earlier this week. And at item 101 on both the HDP and HDP Mason agendas, which is simply to authorize signatories for documents for HDP and HDP Mason. No speaker slips have been submitted for these items. We'll consider the HDP board's consent agenda first. Do any board members have any comments on the consent agenda, or do we have a motion?
Motion. Go ahead. Motion. Second.
We have a motion by Mitch Mitchell and a second by Mr. Gramling to approve items 100 and 101 on today's consent agenda for the HDP board. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
The motion carries unanimously. We will now adjourn as the HDP board and convene as the HDP Mason board to vote on the HDP Mason board's consent agenda. May we use the same motion and second for the HDP Mason board consent agenda?
Yes.
We have a motion by Mr. Mitchell and a second by Mr. Gramling to approve items 100 and 101 on the HDP Mason board's agenda. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
The motion carries unanimously. We will now adjourn as the HDP Mason Board and reconvene as the HDP Board. Next is item 102, the approval of the HDP operating deficit subordinate loan to Knox Glen. We will take public comments after the staff presentation. Vice President of Asset Management, Emmanuel Arellano, and Director of Asset Management, Brandon Sarkisian, will present this item. Please begin when you're ready.
Good morning. Thank you, Lisa. Board members. Again, my name is Emmanuel Arellano, Vice President of Asset Management. Here with me today is Brandon Sarkisian, Director of Asset Management for HDP. We're here to present on item 102 on today's agenda, ratification of the HDP operating deficit loan to Knox Glen. On January 22, 2024, the San Diego region experienced unprecedented rainstorms that had significant impact on numerous areas of the county of San Diego, causing widespread damage. Knox Glen Apartments, a 54-unit affordable rental housing property located at 4754 Logan Avenue, sustained storm-related damages. The building systems, gutters, and drains at Knox Glen have been adequate for the property with prior rain events. However, the unprecedented weather event caused significant water damage to 18 units. This required extensive remediation and rebuilding. Affected households were relocated and provided food per diem as needed. To this date, all residents have returned to their homes. Remediation and buildback resulted in expenses estimated at approximately $545,000. Knox Glen obtained lender and investor approval to utilize $216,304 from the operating reserve account and $71,449 from the replacement reserve account held by Chase Bank. This left a shortfall of approximately $254,000 to cover the expenses. To continue operations at the site and to pay vendors that have completed repairs, HDP has provided Knox Glen a cash infusion loan of an initial $150,000, with the remaining $104,000 being disbursed on an as-needed basis as invoices are received. Pursuant to the terms of the November 1, 2012 partnership agreement between Logan Development Management, LLC, the legal entity name for the Knox Glen Apartments, and Boston Capital, the subordinated loan will be non-interest-bearing and will be paid by the partnership through available excess cash flow after other required payments are made. Following the rain events, staff filed an insurance claim with the Knox Glen property insurance carrier, Philadelphia Insurance, for damages and costs incurred. In the past 2 weeks, staff received correspondence from the insurance carrier denying coverage of this loss event. Philadelphia Insurance denied the claim by stating exclusions in our policy for loss contributed by flood and defective design development. HDP staff is working closely with legal counsel Christensen and Spath to analyze the basis for Philadelphia's determination and take next steps as necessary. In addition, just a few days after the January 22nd storm, it was discovered by vendors completing remediation repairs that a large storm drain to the north of the property line was covered in debris. The storm drain is on land owned by the San Diego Unified School District and is to be maintained by the City of San Diego. The City of San Diego cleared the drain after HDP notified the city of the vendor's finding. HDP staff believes that the clogged storm drain led to a large portion of the flooding on the property. On this slide in front of you shows the clogged drain on the far left picture. The cleanup in process by city crews, and the storm drain clean after the cleanup was completed on the right-hand side. The fence you see on the picture on the right is the end of the Knox Glen property line. On the other side of this fence, 16 of the 18 units damaged are located. Given staff's belief that the clogged drain led to a significant flooding and damage of 16 units on April 11, 2024, HDP filed a government code claim against the City of San Diego for the damages incurred at the property. The City of San Diego has 45 days to provide a response. However, we learned from the city's risk management department that the city has over 600 claims related to that rain event in January, and that they will take an extended period of time to respond. HDP staff will continue to check in with the city on the status of our claim routinely. Moreover, in a continued effort to identify funding for the expenses incurred, HDP, alongside the Housing Commission and the City of San Diego, are working on submitting an application to the California Governor's Office of Emergency Services, also known as Cal OES, to send on to the Federal Emergency Management Agency, also known as FEMA. Any proceeds received through the insurance carrier, government code claim, or FEMA will go directly to replenishing the operating reserves to adequate levels and paying back the HDP for their subordinate loan. The funding sources and uses proposed for approval by this action are not included in the Property 2024 property budget nor the 2024 HDP operating budget. Approving this action will amend their respective budgets as shown on this slide. Staff recommends that the HDP board approves the actions as detailed in the staff report and shown on the screen. This concludes staff's presentation. We're happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you. No speaker slips have been submitted for item 102, so this concludes the public comment period for this item. Board members, do you have any questions or comments?
I do. I think I understood you clearly that not only did the insurance company refuse the claim that we've submitted, but they've also canceled future coverage?
No, they did not cancel. They just refused the claim, and we're working with legal counsel on next steps regarding that determination.
Okay.
I had just a question along the same lines, but I assume, Chuck, that some of this is just going to be standard practice of denying the claim based on what everybody understands to be the unusual rain and then the collision with the infrastructure failures. So.
Yeah, that's 100% correct.
Yeah.
That was the claim that the insurance companies made. However, we found a provision within the policy that may provide coverage.
Okay.
There's one of the substantial factors in causing the damage is the drain off-site, off-premises. And so we think that substantial factor should give some coverage. And so we're in the process of drafting a letter back to the insurance company explaining that, and we'll see where that goes.
And then that would indeed, if that indeed works, then the loan would actually be repaid by the proceeds.
Absolutely.
Okay. Thanks.
Again, as I looked at those photographs, it appears as if a future event from similar causes isn't going to be cured. That it looks as if it's still downstream of a direct flow that's liable to get clogged with more debris. What can we do to modify conditions there now before the next rainy season or the one thereafter?
Hey, great question. Since now on-site staff are aware of the drain that was covered by debris before, one of our action items is making sure that we keep an eye on it, right? It's on the other side of our property fence, so we kind of need to peek over, but making sure that the city maintains that properly. And we've seen that, there was an opportunity for the city to do better in that whole community, because it was not just our property that was impacted, it was a larger part of the neighborhood.
I will share too that I recently, about a week and a half ago, saw a presentation from the city stormwater on their efforts since the devastating floods have happened. And from what I can tell, there were storm drains all over that area that were completely clogged. And we did, the regular public wouldn't even know there was necessarily a storm drain there. It was so significant. They did share, and it was quite daunting to understand how complicated it is for them to clear a storm drain. They usually need the permits from Environmental Protection Agency, from Army Corps of Engineers, and so one of the things that's happened with this horrible incident is that it gave them emergency powers to go all over the place and do clearing upstream and through a lot of these drains that they had been trying to get to for, I think, 2 years now. So there's hopeful that there's a lot of clearing that's happened, and there's a big infrastructure plan over the next about 2.5 to 3 years, where they're spending about $220 million or so specifically on drains throughout this area. They are referring to it as a 1,000-year flood, but we had a 100-year flood at 16th and Newton a few years ago, and then it was also one of the sites that that got drowned out again and really impacted during this last rain. So, but that's just a little information that they shared. It seems like there's a lot of work underway to address some of these things. But now that we know it's there, at least we can have our own eyes on it too. Okay, do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Mitchell and a second by Mr. Gramling to approve item 102. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
The motion carries unanimously. Next is item 103, the selection of new property management companies. We will take public comments after the staff presentation. Emmanuel and Brandon will present this item as well. Please begin when you're ready.
Madam Chair, may I
Yes.
interrupt you in just a little bit? In the interest of full disclosure, and this is a long overdue comment. In the 90s, that's how long, I was actually affiliated with Con Am Property Management, not in the property management side, but we ran an affiliated company called Con Am. Basically Al Nevin and I did economic research for them. I have no continuing interest or connection with Con Am, other than the fact that I met my wife when I was still affiliated with them.
Any concerns? Wonderful. Thank you. Appreciate that. Yep. All right, go ahead.
Thank you. Good morning again. The item in front of you for your approval is item 103 on today's agenda, selection of new property management companies for the HDP portfolio. We are very excited to bring this item for your approval today, given that the proposed changes will lead to greater efficiencies and economies of scale as they relate to the property management operations of the HDP wholly owned properties. This morning, Brandon Terkesian, Director of Asset Management for HDP, will provide you with a detailed presentation of this item.
Thank you, Emmanuel. Hello, board members. As Emmanuel mentioned, this recommendation for changes in property management companies that service the HDP portfolio, which will increase efficiencies and economies of scale. Additionally, we'll be looking at updating our existing property management contracts for the properties that will not be changing property management companies. This additional effort will provide HDP with additional protections and ensure similarity among property management contracts at HDP and at the Housing Commission. I do want to go through the process that we followed in making our decision and putting out the RFP. On February 15th, 2024, HDP published a request for proposal seeking consultants to provide property management services for the 22 properties or 1,075 apartment units of the HDP portfolio. We held a pre-proposal meeting on February 29th to answer any questions for consultants looking to provide a response. HDP received 3 responses by the deadline at April 1st, 2024. The responses were received from Con Am, Hyder, and Wynn, which all currently are consultants managing our current HDP portfolio. An evaluation committee consisting of 5 HDP and San Diego Housing Commission employees evaluated the proposals using a point system, which had a maximum possible score of 100, based on 5 different categories. The categories included looking at experience and past performance, plan and methodology for service, financial information and management fee structure, qualifications, and equity and inclusion. Con Am and Hyder were ranked as the highest respondents, and both have been selected and recommended to manage portions of the HDP portfolio. Con Am has been managing HDP properties since 2018 and currently manages 292 HDP units. They have over 40 years of property management experience and manage over 26,000 affordable units. Hyder Property Management has been managing HDP properties since 2013 and currently manages 333 HDP units. They have over 40 years of affordable housing property management experience, and they manage over 8,000 affordable units. Our transition plan includes moving properties from the existing property management company and also from Hyder to Con-Am. Con-Am's proposal and their HDP portfolio moving forward focused on affordable and senior properties. Hyder's proposal included the entire HDP portfolio, and they are very well suited to manage the PSH portion and single-family home portion of the HDP portfolio. The next slide will show the new portfolio assignments, which show Con-Am taking over San Diego Square, Knox Glen, and Town and Country. Hyder will be taking over management of Casa Colina, Quality Inn, West Park, and New Palace Hotel. On this slide, it's a little small, but we could see that the portfolio is being split up. 647 units are recommended to be managed by Con-Am. 411 units will be recommended to be managed by Hyder. So an increase for both these property management portfolios with our units. With this transition, a number of approvals and notices will be required. Asset management will provide cancellation notices to the appropriate exiting property management companies with an effective date of October 1st, 2024. Additionally, HDP Asset Management will seek approvals from various and necessary applicable parties, such as the California Tax Allocation Committee, or TCAC, lenders involved, investors involved, and the Housing Commission. The property management company changes will be subject to these approvals. Lastly, once the new property management companies take over their respective properties, notices will be going out to residents to ensure that they are properly notified of the change and are aware of who to contact with questions. The funding sources and uses proposed for approval by this action are included in the approved 2024 HDP property operating budgets. Approving this action will not change the 2024 budgets. Staff recommends that HDP board approve the action items as detailed in the staff report and shown on the slide. And this concludes staff's presentation. We're happy to answer any questions that might come up.
Thank you. We have no speaker slips for item 103. Board members, do you have any questions or comments, or do we have a motion?
I just had a simple question. It looks like you were putting most of the senior populations with Con-Am, except for the one. And I didn't, it just kind of stood out that most of the senior, that you had, Con-Am took 2 seniors, 3 family. Is there, how did the mix get divvied up? Was really my question.
Sure, happy to speak to that. So currently we work with Hyder and Con-Am already on some properties. Con-Am does have today a senior property where they've done a phenomenal job overseeing that property, also another tax credit property. Their proposal was solely focused on affordable and senior properties, whereas Hyder include all of the properties, affordable, senior, and PSH, correct. So in our effort to find an equitable balance and make sure that we set the property management for success as well, our approach was taking the strengths based on existing experience from what we see both from Con-Am and Hyder, and assign the assets based on the demographic we serve at each location based on what we see they do best at.
Thank you. I'll make a motion.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, we have a motion from Mr. Mitchell, a second from Mr. Gramling. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
The motion carries unanimously. Item 104, our final action is item 104, the approval for Housing Development Partners exit from the Island Village Partnership. We will take public comments after the staff presentation. Once again, Emmanuel and Brandon are presenting on this item. Take it away.
Thank you, Lisa. Again, good morning. The item in front of you for your approval is item 104 on today's agenda, approval for HDP's exit of the Island Village Partnership. Brandon and I will provide you with a detailed presentation. Oh, there we go. Good, thank you. Island Village is apartments and affordable rental housing development at 1245 Market Street, San Diego for households with low income. It consists of 281 residential units with rents restricted to remain affordable for households with income levels ranging between the 50 and 60% of the area median income, or AMI. Island Village was originally developed in 2004 with tax-exempt bonds, low-income housing tax credits, and loans from various government entities, including the San Diego Housing Commission and the California Housing Finance Agency, or called HFA. Initially, Island Village included a tax credit investment partner, which exited the partnership in 2015 after receiving the benefits of tax credits awarded to the project. This slide shows a picture of the property. Island Village is close to public transportation, including the trolley line. The San Diego Housing Commission monitors compliance with the Covenants, Conditions, and Restrictions, or DCCNRs, and the tax-exempt bond regulatory agreement. The California Housing Finance Agency, or called HFA, and the California Tax Credit Allocation Committee monitor compliance with their respective agreements. In 2015, HDP formed HDP Island Village LLC, a California limited liability company, to act as a managing general partner for a new limited partnership called East Village West LP, to acquire and operate Island Village in accordance with the deed restrictions. East Village West LP admitted 3 family trusts as limited investment partners and East Village West LLC as a co-general partner. In 2022, one limited partner divided its interest among 4 family trusts in accordance with the limited partnership agreement, resulting in the current ownership structure as shown on this slide. As you can see, HDP Island Village LLC has the smallest partnership interest of all partners at 0.04%. Major decisions are decided by a general partners vote based on partnership interest. As such, HDP Island Village LLC has very limited say on making any decisions. As the managing general partner, HDP Island Village LLC receives an annual fee of $30,000 to perform the following duties: monitor and ensure compliance with government regulations, oversee all partner activity, including accounting, which is delegated to the co-general partner, obtain annual property tax welfare exemptions, and participate in and execute partnership major decisions based on voting rights according to the partner's ownership interest, with HDP having the smallest percentage at 0.04%. The annual asset management fee offsets the HDP costs associated with the property, including asset management and fiscal time, as well as in addition to any legal costs for the oversight of this asset.
In recent conversations with the co-general partners, East Village West LLC, HDP staff discussed the differences in business model of the Island Village partnership from our other partnership deals. HDP staff sought to identify the differences in this deal structure and determine the best strategy for the future. Island Village's unique ownership and financial structure is different from typical HDP partnerships. The investment partners do not receive any tax credits and have the authority to obtain supplemental financing with no remaining government agency loans on the property. The investment partners continue to seek a return on investment from the property, and that includes cash flow distributions, some of which may include proceeds from supplemental financing or refinancing activities. An additional key difference between Island Village and HDP's other partnership properties is that due to no government agency loans, there is no required annual financial audit by a third-party auditor. In typical HDP partnerships, HDP primarily meets their oversight and monitoring obligations through the third-party audit, which provides several benefits and insights for the partnership and identify any financial mismanagement. If a financial audit were to be completed, this would be at the sole expense of HDP, and it is anticipated that this expense would exceed any annual fees HDP receives through this partnership. In addition, major partnership decisions are decided at a general partner vote, which Emmanuel had alluded to. Any of these major decisions are defined as determining excess cash flow distributions borrowing money, refinancing, and modifying deed restrictions. HDP does not have an ability to influence these decisions due to this vote and our voting power. The property itself is very well maintained and managed by Royal Management, a third-party property management company. All 281 units at Island Village will continue to operate as affordable housing through December 21st, 2060. The Housing Commission's Compliance and Monitoring Department will continue to monitor the project for compliance with the terms of these deed restrictions. So the property will remain as affordable housing even with our recommended HDP exit through 2060. The limited partnership agreement will expire in 2064. At that time, the co-GP will have control of the partnership's assets through its liquidation. Net proceeds after debt repayment will be distributed based on partnership's owner interest. Given the 0.04% interest with HDP, this would equate to about, if they remain in the deal through liquidation, $400 for every $1 million in net profit. To reiterate, the absence of an audit requirement of the fiscal financial statements and HDP's limited authority present significant challenges for the oversight of this asset, which will extend through liquidation. HDP's current involvement in the property is restricted to property site inspections, which are conducted annually, reviewing financial reports as provided, and completing the annual welfare tax exemption filing for the property and partnership. If approved by the board, HDP will assign their partnership interest to a nonprofit at HDP's sole discretion. If approval is granted to move forward with the exit, HDP will provide notice by June 30th, 2024, with a planned exit date of December 31st, 2024. And this timing is to allow the 6 months notice that is required by HDP to provide to the partnership. Approval of this action will reduce asset management's fee collected by HDP by $30,000 annually. Additionally, this will reduce the associated asset management, fiscal, legal costs associated with monitoring this property. Staff recommends that HDP board approves this action item as detailed in the staff report and shown on the slide. This concludes our staff's presentation. We are happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. We have no speaker slips submitted for item 104. I turn to board members for questions, comments.
Do we have any candidates for this transfer of authority or ownership?
Great question. Yes, we've considered internally some of the local nonprofits that already provide services to residents at Island Village. Familiar names such as Father Joe's, Alpha Project, some of those non-familiar faces. So yes.
And will the cost of their services going forward be covered by that $30,000?
The role that they would provide as a co-general partner should be covered by that annual fee, which is, again, it's a limited scope versus the partnership, based on the partnership interest.
So the services that they're already providing at that site are already covered by other funds, is what you're
Correct.
saying?
That's a separate.
That's a separate, okay.
Separate task.
I noticed that we were taxed.
So that will be just only at the point of liquidation after 2064. So not yet. Right now we only get the $30,000 annually that helps pay for staff time, asset management, fiscal, and legal costs.
And have very little to no influence over decision-making for the property in any form.
Correct. We're mostly a listening partner because we have no voting rights, really tiny voting rights.
Okay. So do we have a motion? And a second?
Second.
So we have a motion by Mr. Klumpner, a second by Mr. Mitchell to approve item 104. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
The motion carries unanimously. That concludes our action items for today. Do any board members have any questions about the informational items listed on today's agenda for either HDP or HDP Mason? All right. That concludes today's meeting of the HDP and HDP Mason Board. The meeting is adjourned at 10:43. Thank you, everybody.